So we're now about halfway through this election campaign. Kady, what do you make of it so far?
Well, this has been quite an astonishing race, hasn't it, Mark? We are at the halfway point, which means that the campaigns are actually starting to get properly underway. We saw a summer of more lighter schedules, and leaders were doing events, but they would take some days off. Now we're into straight, traditional, standard, old-school campaign style, and it has been quite a week for all of the parties. I think the Conservatives have particularly been making headlines in ways that perhaps they didn't want to.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, I think you can easily say they haven't had the best of weeks, and that's probably because they didn't expect the refugee crisis would be exploding the way it has. And Mr. Harper clearly has to, I think, delineate in a clear fashion why it is and how it is he will bring in more refugees in an expedited fashion, but also keep us safe and keep out terrorists. That's his challenge, isn't it?
And this is absolutely one of the challenges that I think an incumbent who's running for re-election faces that his opponents do not. At the same time that he's being the Conservative leader and he's out there on the campaign trail and trying to rah up the support, he also actually has to be Prime Minister, which means that when an issue like this arises, he has to be, government continues, decisions have to be made, and particularly when you are coming under pressure to do something right now,
you're right.
The question becomes, how can you make that happen in a manner that's not going to make your opponents, frankly, squawk that you're abusing your office?
You're right, and at the same time, the opposition leaders are also facing questions from reporters. The Liberals say they would bring in 25,000 immediately. The NDP say they would bring in 10,000 by the end of the year. So the question is, how does that happen? And Mr. Mulcair has said political will. The other big issue, the economy. Next week, we're going to see a debate on the economy. What do you expect there?
Well, I definitely think the Conservatives are really hoping, I think, that they will be able to get the campaign back on message, because the economy is clearly, that is their safe zone. That is where they feel like not only is their leader most prepped to get out there and show sort of practical experience in, frankly, running the country, but also that there are weaknesses. That is where they see the biggest weaknesses, I think, on their opponents. So I'm expecting, I would expect a strong performance from Stephen Harper. I think all eyes are definitely going to be on, particularly on Justin Trudeau, who I think did better than most of us expected during the Maclean's debate. Of course, expectations were very low, so perhaps they'll be a little higher this time around. But I think that if there's going to be a knockout punch, and those so rarely happen, we just sort of mythologize them. But if there is going to be one, it wouldn't surprise me if it were to be next week.
And I think the other thing that people are going to see the change on is if they thought they saw a lot of political ads on their TVs, they haven't seen anything yet, because this is the time now that parties will start dipping into their funds, spending a lot of money on ads as we head towards October 19th.
Get that mute button ready, people.
You bet. Until next week.